Our story begins with someone stating that martial artists exist, although they are not known to the general public. There are martial artists who have mastered martial arts and use their power to maintain order throughout South Korea. And he was also one of those martial artists, making our protagonist, who was a cashier, silently look at the old man and wonder what the hell is that nonsense. 12 hours ago, at Chinha High School, the students were in the alley nearby, and a man forcefully put his arm down in position and raised them up while shouting Hyukchin Divine Arts. Then, he punched our protagonist in the stomach hard while shouting Hyukchin Sect. The man's friend, laughing, asked the man what is that nonsense and why there is all talk about divine arts, etc., when they can just ask him to hand over the money. The man asked his friend if he watches Hyukchin Divine Fist and told him that if he watches it, he will also become a fan of the Hyukchin sect, while our protagonist is kneeling on the ground in pain. He tells the bully that he also watches Hyukchin Divine Arts and it is quite interesting. But he almost missed out on the fun due to a lack of money. Our protagonist's name is Kang Heejin, an 18-year-old student. Heejin tells the bullies that it seems like it was a bit exaggerated to fight in real life and if they try to imitate that in real life. Then he jumped forward toward them while telling them that they'd get wrecked by real MMA fighters. But the man just punched him in the face and asked him what the heck was it. He was thrown to the side while the man laughed, saying that it was surprising and he got strong out of nowhere. Then ask him if he watches some YouTube video because all of a sudden he seems really strong. Then the man looks at him in anger and kicks him continuously while telling him that he is just a dirty poor orphan, so he should act like it. And if he acted like that, he is just going to get beaten even harder. Suddenly, someone calls the man, making the man look back in confusion, and the lady tells him not to block the way. The lady was Woo Ah-hun, and the man asked if that bitch was insane. Then tell her that if she doesn't want to get hurt, she should go find another path. But then the man's friend stops him while telling him that the lady is Ah-han. Then a man appears behind Ah-han while asking them what they are saying to Ah-han. And Wang Tising reminds them that he told them not to bully the kids. Then Tising angrily asks them how about he plays with them instead or if they would rather back off. The man's friend apologizes to Tising and explains that his friend got a bit too excited, to which the man agrees and they proceed to walk away. When the bullies were gone, Tising laughingly asked Ah-han if she was okay with no injuries and told her that just in case, they should go to the infirmary together. She tells him that she is fine and she doesn't need any help. But Tising still tells her that it is not a big deal. Then Tising helped Heejin while asking him if he was okay too and telling him that those guys were nothing to worry about, to which he thanked him. She asks him why is he getting involved with those guys and tells him that if he just took the hits, it'll be over. But by intervening he is making it worse and it might be a cruel story, but she thinks it's good to lower his head, even if it's for his sake. Then she continues walking while telling him that if he doesn't like it, he can keep taking the hits. Tising follows Ah-han, telling her that they should go together. Tising asks her if she has time after school today and if she doesn't mind. But she replies that she is busy today before Tising can finish his words, leaving him alone. He furiously slams his fist into his leg and stands up, thinking that Ah-han is so arrogant and wondering why he should bow to those jerks even though he doesn't have money. He clenches his fist in anger while shouting at them to get lost and mind their own business. Given his current financial situation, he has been working part-time like crazy and even joined an MMA gym. With a bit more training, he can beat those jerks. But a moment later, he is shocked to hear his coach telling him that he should probably stop now. He asks his coach why all of a sudden and tells him that he'll give him all the lesson fees soon. His coach tells him that it has been over 6 months since he joined and he has talent. Technically, there's nothing wrong with him, but he should look at his body because normally in about half a year, his body will start to grow. Despite the effort, he hasn't changed since he first arrived, and it's the first time his coach has seen such a situation. It's hard to explain, and it's like his body doesn't want to change from its current state. His coach puts a hand on his shoulder, telling him that continuing his training from that point on seems meaningless, and he'd refund his lesson fees because he knows his circumstances and he can't accept it. However, he holds his coach's hand while replying no. Still, his coach apologizes to him. He tells his coach that he'll keep going, but he stops resisting when his coach tells him that it seems in that world, there are efforts that don't get rewarded. Later, in a convenience store, he is arranging the stock when he thinks that sometimes the one teaching gives up first, and it's all about perseverance. He knows that he has learned the training routine, so he can do it on his own now, and it doesn't cost him money. It might even be better. Then he grabs the basket, thinking that right now there are no customers, so if he exercises between shifts, he could do an extra shift and decides to start with 1 set of deadlifts. He proceeds to lift the basket up and put it down continuously while counting. But when he reaches 4, he feels his body hit by something inside, making him shout in pain. He is kneeling on the ground in pain and knows that lately he keeps feeling like this, making him think that he should take some vitamins or something. Suddenly, he heard someone calling another person a crazy bastard and asking what the heck he is doing. Then the man apologized, explaining that he didn't mean to. He saw the man holding an old man's hand while asking him if he had stolen something and told his friend to check what the man had taken. However, the old man told them that he hadn't done anything like it and asked the man to let go of his arm. The man punched the old man's face while his friend told him to just ignore him and keep going. The man unbuttoned his shirt while saying that is what he needed and he was very pissed off today. The man asked his friend if they should keep hitting the old man until he feels better, making the old man shake while apologizing and begging them not to hurt him. Suddenly, Heejin shouted that it was the CS convenience store in the Habuk branch, and there were two guys beating up an old man. He told the person on the phone to come quickly, making the men surprised, and one of them shouted that it was the police and they should get out of there. One of the men told him that they'll meet again while running away. Heejin walked closer to the old man, saying that those punks only picked on easy targets and asked the old man if he was okay. The old man asked him if he called the police and he replied no. Also, he just pretended because he didn't want to bother with that because of the inconvenience it brings. He helped the man get up, asking the old man if he could get up. The old man thanked him and told him that even though it had nothing to do with him, he was still helping him. He told the old man not to worry about it and that he just couldn't stand people like them. Noticing the shaking leg of the old man and knowing that those guys are targeting the old man's legs, thinking that the old man is an easy target, suddenly the old man asked him who his parents are, making him confused. Then back to the present, he knows that he got caught up in the parents' conversation. But the old man is just a weird guy after all. He decides to play along and then send the old man on his way, so he asks the old man why someone so amazing is walking around like that. The old man replies that right now he is on the run, and in the past, there were various martial arts factions. Currently, there are only 3 factions left in South Korea: the King Company, which uses the power of martial arts aggressively to control the underworld; a new religious group called the Shinshin religion, which believes and follows God as their leader; and the unofficial government organization, EMP, commonly referred to as Emperor, which monitors and controls matters related to martial arts. Without any prior warning, those 3 factions joined forces to suppress other smaller martial arts factions, and he also joined forces with other factions to resist. They were overwhelmed by the overwhelming power of those 3 organizations, and he barely survived, evading their pursuit for over 10 years. Also, it was why he became cautious when he mentioned calling the police earlier, because it could draw the attention of EMP, which could lead to trouble. He asks the old man if it is so, thinking the old man is really deep into that delusion, and asks the old man if it is okay to tell someone like him who was seeing something important for the first time. But the old man just reminds him that he hadn't answered the question from earlier and asks him again who his parents are. He angrily replies that he doesn't know and they both passed away when he was a baby. Then asks the old man why he keeps asking those questions. The old man activates his power and touched his chest and replied that his meridians is blocked. He asked the old man what meridians are, and the old man replied that they are the paths through which Kai flows inside the body, and even an ordinary person has at least some open meridians. But his meridians are completely blocked, like someone artificially blocked them from the outside. He tells the old man that he has been saying some really strange things since earlier, but the old man tells him that for at least 6 months, even if he worked out hard, his body doesn't seem to change at all, and when Kai flows, his body should grow. But with his meridians blocked, his body can't grow. Rather, he was only putting stress on his body. The old man also tells him that it seems like he is getting regular beatings. So at that point, even a little exercise could cause severe pain throughout his body. If he keeps abusing his body like that, soon Kai will flow in reverse, and he'll die. The old man looks at him, telling him that he can roughly guess what his circumstances are but asks him if they are more important than his life. So, the old man tells him to give up and look for another way because, in that world, there is also effort that is better off not done. He laughs while telling the old man that he was hearing similar words from different people today and that he knew he was not talented at fighting. It would be much easier to just lower his head than to continue that way, but he didn't receive proper family education, so he never learned when to give up. Also, he was determined to become stronger and crush those guys, and it was a decision he had made, so no one had the right to stop him. He tells the old man that he'll do it no matter what, so either he should help him or ignore it. But the old man just keeps quiet, looking at his injured hand. When he calms down, he wonders what he was doing arguing with a homeless guy like that and tells the old man that if he can't bear it, he could go to the hospital, so he shouldn't worry. But then the old man grabs his arm and pulls him, telling him that he guesses there is no other option, making him panic and ask the old man what is he doing. The old man tells him that he has seen it countless times, and people like him who push themselves until their bodies are destroyed still keep pushing themselves. The old man holds his hand, telling him that he doesn't feel like it. But if left alone, he will keep pushing himself to death, and that he'll open his meridians now. He was shocked to hear it and shouted no, but the old man just told him not to move, to stay still and be quiet. Then the old man proceeded to open his meridians, and a moment later, the old man was tired while telling him that it was okay and it was done. The old man turns around, telling him that it's been a while since he used his kai, so it's tiring, and walks out of the convenience store, telling him that he should get better from now on, leaving him stunned and wondering what just happened. A few hours later, he thanked the owner, and the owner told him that he had been through a lot. He walks in the street while thinking that the world is wide, and there are so many crazy people. Also, the kai and meridians are like something from a martial arts webtoon. But he was in the 21st century, which means it was nonsense. But he wonders how things turned out like that and if he just got hit even though he didn't do anything. Suddenly, someone put an arm on his shoulder, making him shocked, and the man from before told him to wait a little because it'd be over soon and reminded him that he told him they'd meet again. The man grabbed him tightly while he was asking what it was, but the other man just teasingly asked what was with him, and the man replied that he was a nerd. But he talked back earlier, and he even pretended to call the police. The man teasingly asks him if he enjoys living righteously and tells him that he finds it fun to rip off guys like him. But he just grabs one of the man's fingers and snaps it, making the man shout in pain. The man's friend asks him what is going on all of a sudden, and the man who was kneeling on the ground replies that his finger was broken. He teasingly tells the man that he was complaining just because one finger is broken and he didn't know about fun. Still, it was entertaining to see them panic just because the police were coming. The man furiously jumps toward him to attack, but he just stands still, telling himself to stay calm and watch the man's movements carefully. Then he plans that when the man enters his range, he will strike. When the man was closer to him, he forwarded his fist to attack, but then he felt something inside his body, making him confused and wonder what was going on because he felt strange. Then he launched his powerful fist, making the man stunned to see it, and hit the man with his power, hitting the other man that was in the back too. A minute later, he saw the man collapsed on the wall and the ground too. His uniform and his arm was destroyed too, while he was confused. Suddenly, someone asked him if he felt better now. Then he recognized that it was the voice of the homeless old man from earlier, and asked why he couldn't move his body, but the old man just asked him how about it, if he believed whether it was kai or martial arts now. Then the old man released a green smoke around him and walked past him, telling him that he was still inexperienced, but it was natural, making him wonder what was going on, if that old man's leg was not broken, and what was that smoke around the old man. Then the old man realizes that he hasn't introduced himself yet and introduces himself as Park Jang-gun, the leader of the beggar union, generally known as General. He tried to say something, making Jang-gun confused, and he managed to say that his body wasn't moving before slowly falling. Fortunately, Jang-gun grabbed him in time and explained to him that he was exhausted from releasing too much kai at once, but he'd be fine after he takes a nap, so he shouldn't worry. Jang-gun asks him where his home is because he'll take him there, and he replied that he lives alone, and there is nothing to steal from his home. But then something hit his butt, making him shout in pain and ask what it was and why it was so painful. Jang-gun replied that it's called an acupuncture point and asked him how is it. He shouted in pain and told Jang-gun that he understood and apologized to him. Jang-gun knows that it's been only a few hours since he opened Heejin's meridians, and yet it's that powerful, so he thinks Heejin might have more potential than he imagined. The next day, in the alley, people were gathering around, laughing hard at what they were seeing and asking if they passed out from drinking while looking at the two men from last night in the same position with destroyed clothes sleeping, making the people laugh, saying that it was so sacred and they like praying while lying down. In the crowd, Ahan and her friend were looking at it, and Ahan told her friend that if she had seen enough, they should go because they were late for school. But then she noticed something in the men and wondered what it was, but then someone walked to approach them, and a man appeared behind them, making her shocked. Then the man walks past them while saying to let him pass through for just a moment, making Ahan's friend angrily ask what it was and who was that huge person. Ahan looked closely at the man and looked back, and then she saw more people in suits waiting. Her friend asked her what is she thinking about again, and she replied that she was just thinking about something. Her friend asked her if she sometimes comes up with strange ideas and tells her that they should go, to which she replied yes while still looking at the suited people. Meanwhile, in Heejin's house, he dreams about how he punched the men with one attack, how he couldn't move his body, and how the old man introduced himself, making him wake up in shock and shout that it was the uncle. But when he looked around, he saw no one is there. He walks out of his bed while thinking that they came home together, making him wonder if Jang-gun just left after dropping him off. But then his vision becomes blurry again while he thinks that he still has things to ask Jang-gun. Then he kneels on the ground while coughing and puts his head down, knowing that it was not just his leg, but his whole body is in pain, and he feels like his heart is about to burst. He felt his whole body in pain, making him wonder what the hell it was. Then he saw his room and wondered if it was a dream and why his body was so achy. He touched his body to check if it was not a dream, but then he felt the power inside his body, making him surprised, and he saw that his muscles are coming in. But he noted that it was not the issue right now and wonders what it was because it's strange. Then a blue smoke comes out of his ears, making him more confused and panicky, asking what is that again. He covers his ears while someone tells him that it's called Kai and he should stop making a fuss in the morning. Also, he'll explain it to him now, so he should sit down there. Jangan seriously looked at him, but he just speedily ran toward Jangan and shoutingly asked if it was what he did and told him that while he was asleep, he did it. But Jangan just looked at his muscles in amazement and asked what it was and how did it grow like that. Then Jangan checked him and told him that the blood flow was stable, so there was nothing to worry about. He asked Jangan if he had done it when he was sleeping, but Jangan just asked him back if he did not see him coming back just now and told him that he hadn't done anything to him since yesterday evening. He flexes his muscles and asks Jangan if that is so, what it was. Jangan looks at his thick muscle and tells him that it was because the meridians were blocked. The body didn't change. Then the change started as soon as the meridians were opened and Kai flowed. He also explained to him that he only opened his meridians and that appearance is not something he made. And it was he who had been training tirelessly, despite the lack of results, so he made it and worked hard. Jangan also told him that he was surprised to see that he had grown 20 centimeters taller since he last saw him yesterday. He shyly replied that it was right and asked Jangan where did he get those. He replied that it was from the mess he made yesterday and he went to clean up because he left too much of a trail. Then Jangan reminds him that he told him he'd get caught if he used his martial arts carelessly, and it's only a matter of time before he was tracked down by the king, god, or emperor if he left such a flashy trail behind. Then Jangan tells him to hide his body for a while, making him confused. But Jangan explains to him that since he can't yet control his Kai, he'll leave traces everywhere and he'll be chased by those guys in no time. He replied no because he could just plug in something like earphones for his ears while covering his ears. But then the blue smoke came out of his nose, making him panicky, telling Jangan that he'll just cover his nose too. But then he noticed that it was leaking from his pants and asked where is it coming from, making Jangan look at him in disgust and tell him not to worry because he'll assist him in mastering complete control over his Kai. Then Jangan tells him that he, the general, will do it himself, making him ask Jangan why it was general. And Jangan replied that next to the king, god, an emperor is general. 60 years ago, in 1962, in Seoul, the man asked if they all gathered, and one person replied yes to their leader. The leader of the beggar union, Kim Ju-bong, told his people that the world is experiencing a significant period of change, with many things evolving. And the beggar union also needs to embrace a new culture and be reborn. General Park, 8 years old, was listening while Ju-bong told them that there were many things that needed to change. But for now, he would change the title of leader to general, making his people stunned for a moment and cheerfully telling Ju-bong that he was ahead of the norm and it was great, but asked him why is that. Ju-bong shyly replied that there is a deep in all that, but the truth is he just saw it in the paper. Meanwhile, Hwasun, the clan leader, was shocked to hear that Ju-bong changed his leader name to general, and the man reported to him that from now on, instead of a leader, they will use the title of general, and he should include it in official documents as well, making Hwasun think it was English, which is so cool, and he was so jealous. Hwasun furiously ordered the man who was holding a paper to speak English and asked what is English for Hwasun. The man confusedly replied volcano, and Hwasun told everyone that from today on, they should call their chief Volcano. Meanwhile, Mudong, the clan leader, was shocked to hear that the other leader changed their name to General and Volcano. Then Heeman and Janam, the clan leader, was also shocked to also hear the other leaders were called General, Volcano, Shaman, and Ocean. Jangan simply told Heejin that it was tradition, making him tell Jangan that it was a strange tradition. But Jangan just stood up while telling him that they should move slowly, making him ask where to. But then he remembered that he had to go to school and asked Jangan what time is it now. But Jangan just attacked him, and when he woke up, he was confused about where he was, knowing that it was not his room. Then he remembered Jangan attacking him, and he was startled when someone told him that if he was awake, he should get up. Jangan told him that the place is one of the secret hideouts of the beggar union all over the country, and no one knows about the existence of that place. So he is safe there. He looked at Jangan confused, but Jangan reminded him that he said that morning that he would help him gain full control over his Kai, and he will help him until he can do it perfectly, but if he can't, he will never be able to leave that place. Meanwhile, outside, the lady in the suit was busy eating food while saying that Tang is great and Tang is the best. Then, the lady tells the man that it was not easy to find martial artists without any clues, but the man tells her that it was an order. She asked him how Namgung ended up in that situation, assigning them those tasks, and that she missed the old days. The man tells her that those days are long gone, and they have to accept their reality now. She tells him about Jun Jin, the death penalty, and asks him for his thoughts on those two from earlier because, after thinking about it again, it seems similar to being struck by martial arts. He replied that no traces of energy have been found in that alley, and erasing those traces isn't an easy task, so if they had consumed it, they should have woken up. Also, he picked up the trash, but she told him that there was still something. He tells her that among the martial artists who have survived till now, it's unlikely that there is someone who uses their kai so recklessly, especially an inexperienced one. She tells him that they would have caught them, but she asks where on earth is that old man general hiding, if he ascends to the sky, and if he sinks into the ground without noticing the sewer behind her releasing blue smoke, a strong blue smoke of martial arts. 2 months later, in the sewer, a strong blue smoke was everywhere while Jangun was watching from a little far. Jangun orders Heejin to completely conceal his aura while looking at Heejin inside the room. He sweatily sighs and slowly conceals his blue smoke aura. Then Jangun ordered him to try to fully release it, to which he did and released a powerful aura that reached where Jangun was and came out of his surroundings, making the sewer move like there was an earthquake. He clenched his hand, and the lamp a little near it exploded. Jangun tells him that he has to admit that in terms of kai control, there is nothing more he can teach him, making him ask Jangun if he can leave now. Then he shouted that it was insane and asked Jangun why he kept him in the sewer for a whole month, remembering Jangun slapping his feet because he did it wrong and he did the basic herb training, 9 hours per day. Then he shouted to Jangun that he was making him do weird things like eating mice, cockroaches, and doing physical training. Then he slams his hand on the ground while shoutingly telling Jangun that he'll be recognized as the employee of the month, but he might end up losing his part-time job, and it was only a 1-week-long sick leave, but 2 months is too much. He shouted that he was ruined, and his salary was ruined while Jangun was walking closer to him. Then Jangun grabbed his neck and pressed his shoulder while asking him how dare he speak to his master so arrogantly. He shouted in pain and asked if that place also has bloodletting. Jangun replied no and told him that it just hurts when he presses it hard. While he was busy shouting in pain, Jangun didn't understand a word because he knew that kai control training takes a year, and if they lacked talent, it can even take over 5 years. He also knew that it was the basics of martial arts, but it doesn't mean they are easy. So to learn it in just 2 months makes him think that Heejin has a terrifying talent while Heejin tells him that he tapped continuously, and that he tapped him, so he should let go, making him ask Heejin what is a tap. Heejin stood up while holding his neck, telling Jangun that, in any case, he was off to school because it was becoming risky if he didn't. Jangun asked him if he was heading to school to catch up on the delayed curriculum or if there was another reason. He replied that he needed to go to the university without noticing Jangun was behind him. Jangun pressed his shoulder hard while holding his head and told him not to tell obvious lies. He shouted that he was serious and that he should give him a break. Jangun let go of him, making him fall to the ground, and told him that he won't stop him because he doesn't think he'll listen, but he shouldn't forget. He replied that he knew that he mustn't use his skills and told Jangun not to worry because he didn't need skills to beat those guys. Later, in Chinha High School, in the alley, the man punched the small student again while shouting Hyukchin Clan. The man's friend asked him if he is still in that and when he is going to quit, but the man just asked his friend back if he will give him cookies or not and told him not to pay attention to the jerk. The man's friend told him that lately, there is no fun in fighting, and at least it was fun to beat that new guy while looking at the new student's wallet. The man agreed and told his friend that they trained hard, and it was more fun. The man's friend asked him what he says and if he gets sick, but the man told his friend that it is nonsense and asked his friend if he really thought it when he got caught because he was afraid and now they are charging him 100,000 won. Suddenly, someone asked them what he means and told them that even after 2 months, they were doing the same thing, making the new student who was beaten up confused. He looked down at them, and the man told him that he has gotten a bit taller. Then the man's friend teasingly told the man that it is a tiger and asked how it knows what they are saying. The man welcomed him back and told him that as a welcome gift, they were going to spar using Hyukchin style, but he just punched the man's face, making the man's nose bleed and collapse on the ground. He sighed in the position and walked to the man's friend, asking if it was really how the Hyukchin clan's techniques are done and told him that. Again, webtoons are just webtoons because there seemed to be too many unnecessary movements when he tried it in real life. When he tried it, he realized that there were way too many unnecessary movements, making the man panic and wonder what happened to Heejin and if that guy really Kang Heejin. He asked the man if he was coming out or not because if not, he'd come in. Then he positioned his hands down and raised them together in front, making the man panic and tell him to wait, but he just punched the man in the chest, making him cry in pain and collapse on the ground while he was saying that it was simpler than he thought. He picked up the wallet while saying that those guys were the ones who pick fights with individuals who appeared weaker than them and threw the wallet on the new student, asking if it was his wallet, to which the student replied yes. He told the student not to worry about what is happening there and go. Also, not even mention it to the teachers, and told the man to go quickly, to which the man immediately stood up and ran away while thanking him. He looked up, knowing that he has caught the bastards, but he wondered what to do now and looked at them, wondering if he has beaten them too aggressively. He thought he shouldn't just leave them, but for now, he needs to hide them somewhere. Suddenly, someone appeared and asked what it was, making him surprised and sweatily seeing Wu Ahan. She asked him if he is Kang Heejin and what happened there. Meanwhile, in some apartment buildings, Jangun was stretching while thinking that it was nice to be outside because the fresh air was great, and if he thought rationally, he should have stopped Heejin even if he had to knock him down. But then he remembered Heejin's determined face and thought that if it had been so easy, he wouldn't have survived like it, so there is nothing they can do. Besides, Heejin is still his disciple, so he guessed it can't be helped, and he has to help Heejin with that matter. Then the people in suits barged inside the rooftop while the lady told his senior that the general actually escaped overseas. But then Jangun called them the younglings of Namgung, telling them that it has been a while, making them surprised, and the lady shoutingly asks why is the general there. The man shouted for them to get ready for battle, but Jangun just told them that they sure made a big fuss. Then he looked at them and released a powerful aura, making them step back and cover themselves while he was releasing a powerful aura. He looks at them and asks them if they get along well with King, and if it was worthwhile to be under King, but the man just stared at him. Then a lot of men barged inside while asking their team leader what he said and were surprised to see the general. But Jangun simply acted like he was shocked that there were more people. The team leader jumped and launched his sword toward him, then used the heavenly sword technique, Heaven Slash, which released a swarm of slashes at the same time, breaking the wall Jangun standing in. But the man was shocked to see and hear Jangun telling him that it appears to be worthwhile, and he has definitely become stronger in the meantime. The leader ordered them to request support from headquarters, and the lady ordered the man next to him to do it, to which the man replied he understood and got the phone in his coat pocket. The man pulled out his phone while the leader ordered the rest of them to head over to the executioner. Suddenly, Jangun used his cane to press the man's hand on his phone, cracking the phone, and the man was thrown away. He tells the man that it won't do, and the man slams on the ground hard, making the team leader and the lady surprised. Also, the team leader was shocked that with a single leap, Jangun was away all the way there while looking at Jangun pulling his cane to the man's hand. Then the other men surrounded Jangun, and he told them that he was getting old and he was not the same as he used to be, so if that continued any longer, it'd be a hassle. The lady furiously asks him if that is so while the team leader just angrily stares at him. He rolls his cane around while telling them that they all should also consider that old man and teasingly begs them to be gentle. The men run forward to attack him at the same time, but he just grabs his cane using both hands and stabs it into the ground, which releases a powerful power around him and makes a huge explosion. Meanwhile, in the alley, he sweatily asks back Ahan what she is talking about, but she just stares at him, making him look away in worry. But then Tezing excitedly calls Ahan and tells her that today, he was once again rushing to reprimand the troublemakers, but he was silent when he saw Ahan looking at sweating Heejin. Tezing looked at him while asking if he was Kang Heejin, making him realize that he had overreacted and he should have checked his surroundings first. He tells them that it's been a while and that he doesn't think he has seen them in 2 months. Tezing tells him that he knew, and he mentioned he was ill, but aside from it. Then Ayan continued by saying he had changed a lot in those 2 months. He panicked and told them that he guessed he had changed a bit and that he actually switched gyms recently. Also, the new place is fantastic, and he has been putting in the effort, so his body has been showing some great progress. Anne suspiciously asks him if he is really telling the truth, and he sweatily replies it was right and that he should have gone to see the teacher first, so he'll go to the teacher's room for a bit, and they talk later. Then he speedily ran away, leaving the bully's collapsed body in the alley. Then they heard him calling the teachers to tell them their student had returned after 2 months and ask where they are, making Tising tell Ayan that the world is indeed full of surprises, but she just looked at the bullies on the ground in silence. A moment later, in the teacher's room, the teacher asked him if he is feeling okay and told him that it's been 2 months, so there will be a big difference in the pace, and he should work hard and catch up well. To which he replied yes and thanked his teacher. Then the teacher told him to go to class now and not to skip anymore, to which he replied yes. Then he walks in the corridor in relief that his homeroom teacher doesn't pay much attention to him and realizes that he should have been more careful, as his master said. Then he looks at his calloused hand, remembering that Jangun told him that the king, the god, and the emperor have deployed extensive surveillance networks to trace unaffiliated martial artists, and if they find out that he can write records, he will be captured, killed, or enslaved. So even after he finished his training, he shouldn't use his Kai or do anything that draws unnecessary attention. He closed his hand and asked how he did not stand out when his body had grown so much in just 2 months, and shouted that even he would have been seriously concerned. But he was the one who insisted on coming out himself. Then he wore his jacket, thinking that for now he should try to blend in as much as possible. He didn't know if it would work, but he should try. Later, in the classroom, he was in the back, wondering if it was working or rather no one cared about him. But he decided not to think about it and noticed that the king seemed to be paying no attention. But the problem was Wu Ahan, making him think that he was in big trouble. At first, it doesn't seem like she is going to tell anyone or anything, but she seems to be suspicious. In his mind, he was furiously asking Ahan what is he looking at all the time and telling her to study, but he was just glad that he had at least taken the upper hand in his imagination. Then he wonders if he just sticks around, will things somehow work out? After school, he peeked out of his classroom and guessed that there was nothing else for today. He knows that Ahan has been eyeing him for a while, but nothing happened. And he thinks he should at least start thinking about a new part-time job interview because he had been unemployed for 2 months, and he was completely broke. He looks at the mirror, knowing that if he doesn't succeed, he'll truly be in trouble, and tells himself that with that look, he should be able to snag a service job right away. Then he confidently tells his future boss to get ready for a handsome part-timer to serve up a hot pot. But then Ahan appears next to him and tells him to remove the bandage from his face, making him jump away in shock. She told him that she won't ask for details, but it would be better to be really careful for a while because right now, he was in more danger than he thought, making him look at her in shock, but she just calmly stared back at him. Suddenly, Ahan's friend called her and asked her what is she doing, then told her that they should go quickly, to which she replied okay and that she'll leave now. Then she walked away, leaving him shaking in fear and wondering what danger she was talking about. Suddenly, a huge tattooed man called him and asked him why that jerk beat up his friends and then just wanted to go home and if he had seen such a bastard, making him wonder if those were the individuals Wu Ahan was mentioning. The man told him to make a choice and asked him if he will cooperate quietly or if he wants to be dealt with first. He said that he really wished they would just keep quiet and told the man that they should go, but asked the man how long will it take because he has an interview, so he can't spend more than an hour. The man asked him what hour and told him that it won't take an hour because he was not going home today. The men surrounded him, making him ask if all the bullies from their school were there and asked them if chasing after him all at once wasn't a bit embarrassing. One of the men told everyone that Heejin thinks he's a big shot just because he beat up 2 of their guys, and the other man told him not to be mistaken because those guys are nothing like them. But he just punched the man in the face, and he landed on the ground passed out. He asked them if he really meant it because they didn't seem that different when he looked at them, knowing that there were about 20 people there, and if he didn't use his inner energy and just rely on external force, it was going to be a pretty severe beating. Without noticing someone behind the men in the corner, someone is looking at him. Minutes later, all the men were down on the ground, and he knew that it hadn't been an hour. He thought that he was so focused on not releasing his inner energy, and the more intensely he moved, the harder it was to control it. Then he touched his stomach, knowing that he needs to be more careful, and he'll catch his breath and go to the job interview without noticing someone walking closer behind him. Suddenly, he heard a footstep behind him, and when he looked back, a fist was coming toward him. Then someone hit him in the face, making his blue smoke aura come out of his ear, making him panic because his energy leaked out. A man pinned him down on the ground, and he saw that it was T-Sing. But T-Sing was shocked to see the energy coming out of his ears. T-Sing released his red smoke aura while telling him that he had the kids give it a try, just in case, because he had a feeling. Then T-Sing called him a loser and asked him where he learned martial arts. Meanwhile, the rooftop of the apartment building was destroyed, and the men collapsed everywhere, while Jangan told them that his old age was catching up to him because he got tired much faster. He asked them if they should finish it, then referred to the people as Namdung's little ones. Jangan walked closer to the team leader and the lady. The lady asked him about his motive and why he suddenly revealed himself, but he just told them to let him ask them one thing and inquire why there was hesitation in their sword. He told them that if they had really tried to kill him, he wouldn't have been able to escape without a scratch, making their skills meaningless. He asked them if they really went easy on him because he asked them to. Then he looked at the team leader and told him that if he wanted to survive in the world of martial arts, he should act like a martial artist. If he hesitated, neither of them would be able to do anything, making the man clench his teeth in anger. Suddenly, the lady furiously asked Jangan what he knew and what qualifications he had to say such a thing. She threatened to kill him right then. He told them that he definitely overstepped his boundaries and that he would be on his way now. If fate wanted it, they would meet each other again. Then he disappeared into the air, leaving the lady sitting on the ground in tiredness, asking where Jangan suddenly disappeared and checking on her senior to see if he was okay. The man just kept silent and held his sword tightly. On the other hand, Jangan speedily jumped off the rooftop, thinking that now that the big fish had appeared, the small fish wouldn't even be noticed. He thought of Heejin and hoped that Heejin wouldn't catch their attention. Meanwhile, in the tunnel, Heejin asked T-Sing what he was, what martial arts, and what he was talking about. T-Sing aimed his fist while telling him that it meant he wouldn't know anything, then punched him, advising him not to break. Heejin forcefully jumped away to avoid it, landing a few distances between them. He held his head in pain and anger, but T-Sing just told him that even if it meant tearing off his hair, he had to avoid it if he didn't want to die. Then, T-Sing stood up, telling him that he knew how to use Kai and asked him if he was pretending to be ignorant, making him realize that T-Sing was also a martial artist. T-Sing told him that he guessed he heard something somewhere and that, actually, his father did some business. Then T-Sing told him that their business was King Company and he was its successor. T-Sing also told him that in the industry they called him the prince, which was kind of embarrassing. But he was a bit surprised that it hadn't even been a few months, and suddenly he had learned a few things from somewhere. Then, ask him if there are still remnants of those pesky sect members hiding somewhere, and where he learned it from. T-Sing threatened him to tell him while being kind, so he could consider sparing his life. However, he asked T-Sing what if he refused. T-Sing smiled creepily, ran forward to him while laughing, clenching his fists, and telling him that he'd have to be beaten up and humiliated. He raised his hands to cover his face, but it was too much for him, so he jumped to the side to avoid it. He realized that his guard couldn't hold, and it was piercing through his Kai. T-Sing launched another attack, teasingly asking him if all he knew how to do was mindlessly spread around his Kai. Then, T-Sing hit his hands that were covering his face, telling him that he was trash, and teasingly asked him if he was having fun beating up those guys using martial arts and if he thought he was going to take over the school. He told him that he was still as pathetic as ever and that he was going to kill him and the person who taught him martial arts because he didn't know his place and was fooling around. He was surprised to see T-Sing turn around and kick him hard in the chest while shouting that isn't how it's supposed to be. He was thrown away, but he still tried to stand up while T-Sing asked him why he bothered learning martial arts when he would have been fine if he just kept his head down. T-Sing told him he would have been bullied a little bit, and also, he would have saved him in front of Ihan, telling him how beautiful friendship is, making him confused. He asked T-Sing what he meant by Wu Ihan and beautiful. T-Sing asked him if he thought those bullies blindly followed him just because they listened to someone. He told him that if he was going to blame someone, he should blame Ihan because one has to do all sorts of things to look good in front of girls. He was stunned to hear it and was about to ask T-Sing if all this time. But T-Sing teasingly finished his word by telling him that he had been playing with him, making him open his mouth in shock. T-Sing bent down, telling him that it was fun for a while, but it was time to end it while releasing his red smoke aura, which burned everything it hit. T-Sing was confused when he replied yes and stood up, saying that he had decided. He told T-Sing that he was so flustered when he found out, he didn't know what to do, but now he has decided. Then he clenched his fist, releasing his blue aura and let it go, telling T-Sing that he needed to learn as much as he could and that he'd think about the rest later. T-Sing furiously asked him what he was saying and called him a bastard. He just called T-Sing a damn idiot and asked him where he could find a woman who falls for that kind of method these days. Then he told T-Sing that he was all talk and asked him if he was a piece of shit prince, making T-Sing clench his teeth in anger. T-Sing punched him, calling him a fucking bastard. But he covered his face with his hands while T-Sing continuously punched him. T-Sing teasingly asked him if he couldn't see and told him that he won't get far just by blindly following and copying something. Then T-Sing got pushed by his aura and he stopped attacking, wondering if he got pushed aside. He told T-Sing that thanks to him, he had learned something good. And if he adds density by kneading the dough, it becomes stronger. Then he released his aura while glaring and told T-Sing that it is not so difficult and asked if he thinks he is so great with just it. T-Sing was furious to see his stare and released more aura while shouting at him not to give him that look. Then T-Sing put his hands down in the position, making him ask T-Sing what kind of ultimate move it was. But he positioned himself too and told T-Sing to just come at him. T-Sing jumped toward him, leaving a broken ground, and he positioned himself while waiting for him to get closer. T-Sing used the King's Light technique, making him notice that it is strong. Then he bent his body down and forwarded his fist toward T-Sing's fist. Then they both met in the center and their fists collided. He was pushed back a little but managed to stay still. And T-Sing told him that he was trying his best. He just pushed forward his foot behind and glared at T-Sing, knowing that compared to his master, T-Sing was nothing. T-Sing was surprised to see his fist being pushed back, and he teasingly told T-Sing that it was just like it. Suddenly, a man who was smiling acted surprised. Then the man hit him in the nape, making him surprised and shout, "Come on." His vision slowly became blurred while the man apologized to him because he had to stop it there. He collapsed on the ground while T-Sing asked the man what the hell he was doing there. The man sweetly called T-Sing young master, told him it's been a long time, and asked if he thinks his father might call for an emergency meeting because the general has appeared. The man told T-Sing that he was just out for a walk, sensed some energy, so he came to check it out, and it turns out it was the young master's friend. The man told him that he owes him one, making him surprised and ask what he is talking about. However, the man just asked him back what he meant when he saved him and told him that if he had left it alone for a few more seconds, he would be done. Tiseng told the man not to be ridiculous, and even if he left it alone, he would have won on his own. Then Tiseng told the man that he was annoying, butting in, and talking nonsense. He angrily glared at the man, who was glaring back in silence. However, the man smilingly apologized to him and told him to forgive him with his generous heart, making Tiseng angrier. Then the man grabbed Heejin, telling Tiseng that he'll take that friend of his, and that their meeting turned out to be more fun than he thought. The man walked out of the tunnel, holding Heejin on his shoulder without noticing someone hiding behind the tree. Ayan peeked out and was frustrated to see Heejin being dragged out. Later, at the King Company headquarters in Yeonwon City, the team leader and the lady were walking in the corridor. The lady told the man that she really didn't want to go in and asked if she could just say she was sick and leave early. The man replied that it was pointless to escape and he understands she doesn't like it, but she should just bear with it for a little while. They arrived at the room door and someone shouted that Namgung Jinyong, the 6th chief of the 7 departments, and Namgung Jinah, the 7th chief, had confirmed it. The person told them to come in and the president was waiting for them. Inside the room, they saw 5 more people, the top executives of King Company's 7 departments. The lady told them that she heard they were all robbed by the general, and the 2nd chief of the 7 departments, Go Da Ran, aka Big, called them a bunch of trash. The 3rd chief of the 7 departments, On Kyung Soo, aka Glasses, looked at them teasingly. The 4th chief of the 7 departments, Do Hyungbi, aka Tank, laughed at them, and the 5th chief of the 7 departments, Ju Ma Chong, aka Rapid, teasingly laughed at them too. Jinah asked them what would have been different if they had fought, and Daran replied that she would have been better than the 2 trashes. Daran asked Jinah what her problem was and if she wanted to fight. Jinah furiously grabbed her sword, calling Daran a bitch, but Jin Young told her to wait and calm down. Suddenly, a man shouted that it was enough, and the King Company president, Wang Qiaowu, aka King, told them to calm down and that he didn't call them there to see them fight each other. Jinah walked away in silence, and Daran sat back down. Qiaowu sighed and told Jinah and Jin Young that General Park Jangdan was strong, and they were not to be blamed for losing to him, so they shouldn't blame themselves. Jin Young thanked Qiaowu. Ma Chong asked them why the old man suddenly appeared after hiding all this time. But Hyung-bi just asked Ma Chong back if he wasn't itchy, and Kyung Soo asked them what they knew. Qiaowu asked them if there was anything noteworthy, and Jin Young replied that in his personal opinion, he got the feeling that Janggun was deliberately attracting attention. Daran asked him for his basis, and he replied that Janggun had a lot of spare time on his hands, and it was frustrating. But if Janggun had wanted to, everyone there would have been dead. Janggun hadn't done it, and only a few people were injured, so he felt like Janggun wanted to attract their attention. Qiaowu told him that his opinion does have some merit. Daran told him that even if he tried to dress it up nicely, in the end, he owed his life to the enemy, and he always talked about being from a martial arts family. She asked him if he wasn't ashamed of himself for not being embarrassed, making Jinah furious and shouting that it was another insult. Jin Young stopped his sister, replying that it was true, and they had nothing to say. Daran shouted that it was boring. Kyung Soo told them that if Jin Young's hypothesis is correct, even though it is risky to appear in person, it appears that something Janggun didn't want to be revealed has occurred. In that case, the first thing that comes to his mind is, suddenly, a man appeared in the meeting holding Heejin and continued by saying he guessed it was Janggun's disciple. The Iron Department's first chief, Jang In-wane, Ka, Cruel, apologized to the president for being a little late. Jin Young was surprised to see In-wan holding a man, and Daran asked In-wan what he was doing there when he said it was boring. In-wan asked her back what she thought of him and told her that sometimes he has to miss out due to unavoidable circumstances, but he does his best when he is there while throwing Heejin on the floor. In-wan told Qiaowu that Heejin seemed to be his son's friend and they were fighting. Also, Heejin was quite good, so he decided to intervene. Even if he hadn't, his son would have definitely won, making Qiaowu look at Heejin in silence. Then In-wan told Qiaowu that at the same time the general, who had been in hiding for several years, suddenly reappeared, and a friend who could do that also suddenly appeared. It doesn't seem like a coincidence, but it was not certain, and they'll find out if they play with that friend for a while, looking at Heejin who was passed out on the floor. Meanwhile, in some apartments, a uniform was on the floor, and when looked at closely, the uniform owner was Woo Ah-han. She tied her hair up, put her belt on, placed her sword behind her back, and walked away, a completely different person. She speedily jumped out of her apartment building by building, then slid down, knowing that she should hurry up. She safely landed on the ground and ran straight to the apartment door, thinking that it must be the house where she found Kang Heejin, and there must be a clue to his origins. She grabbed the doorknob, knowing that somehow she needed to contact Heejin's master. Suddenly, a cane hit the door hard near her, making her surprised. When she looked back, she saw someone telling her that she can't just go into someone else's house. She looked at him, agreeing, and realizing that he was the general. Jangan told her that he remembered her familiar outfit. Then he told her to think carefully before answering and asked her who she is. But she just told him back if he was General Park and told him to put down his cane because she was in a hurry right now. However, he just told her to answer his question and asked her again who she was and what she was doing there. She replied that she understood, and he said he recognized that outfit. Then she grabbed his sword behind her, introduced herself as Wuahan, and told him that they were on the same side because she is the daughter of the Majesty. He pulled his cane back, telling her that she was really the Majesty's daughter, and she told him that he wouldn't forget him. He told her how could he forget the leader of the Pure Stream sect, Wu Eam, aka Majesty, and Eam was one of the strongest martial artists he had ever seen, even among those who fought against the Emperor. Eam was strong, wise, and cheerful, a man who made him feel good when he was around him. But in the end, Eam fell into their trap and died. He told her that he did hear that he had a daughter and that if Eam had survived, she would be about his age. He also told her that she said her name was Wuahan and that he has many questions, but for now, he'll just ask one. Then he seriously asked her what happened to Heejun. She put his sword on her back while realizing that Jangan is really the one who taught Heejun and told Jangan that she doesn't usually like to talk about coincidences, but his disciple is currently in serious danger. Meanwhile, in some rooms, blood splattered everywhere, and Heejun was being beaten up continuously while being chained. He kneeled on the ground, choking on his own blood, but Inwan told him that it was enough warm-up for now and that he was just asking. Inwan wondered if he was going to talk. Then Inwan showed Jangan a picture while asking him if that homeless old man was his master and where he is now. However, he just looked at the picture and used his aura to free himself from the chains. He was surprised when the chains reacted and became tighter, while Inwan told him that it was useless because it's a special technique. If he answers honestly, he'll let him go, and if he wants, he'll take him to the boss and even get him a job while grabbing his hair. But he just spit on Inwan, who blocked it using Jangan's picture. Then Inwan lifted him creepily and threw the picture while saying that a man should have that much guts. Then Inwan thanked him for not revealing his cover so quickly and headed toward the tools on the table. He thought it was his fault because even though his master warned him, he took it lightly and followed his emotions, and that is what happened. So at least, he has to take responsibility for it himself. Then he told Inwan to do whatever he wants, but it won't work, and he doesn't know anything. Inwan grabbed the scalpel, telling him that everyone says it at first. Then he showed the sharp scalpel to him and told him that they should start with his fingernails. In the other room, Chiao Wu is sitting with the paper with Kyung Soo. Chiao Wu asks Kyung Soo how it's going, and Kyung Soo replies that the reconnaissance team has initiated the operation. If they wait a little longer, they'll gather some information. Chiao Wu tells Kyung Soo that it is a clue to locating the general, who has reappeared after several years. They must locate Jangan by any means necessary because if they can catch him and get what he has, even the emperor can be surpassed, and their company will be at the top of the martial arts world. Chiao Wu also tells Kyung Soo that the fact must not reach the ears of the other organizations and asks about the cover-up. Kyung Soo replied that there is no problem, at least for the time being. On the other hand, outside the King Company building, the guards were looking around. Then, a lady in heels and a man in the proper shoes both walked closer to the company. The guards told them to wait and asked who they were and if they knew where they were because they can't just barge in. However, the lady released her yellow aura, telling the guards to move, and the guards were down on the ground by a strong force. One of the guards looked up to see who it was and replied okay, letting the lady and the man walk inside. A moment later, in front of the King Company chairman's office, the guards were surprised to hear someone in their earpiece device. The man asked what he said while the other man was trying to get the person in the other line. One of the guards told the other person to wait a minute, and he'll call back. When the man looked in front of him, he was surprised to see the lady saying that they are pretty good, and she doesn't think words will be enough. Then the man said that it was how it was. One of the guards reported that it was an emergency, and he had to tell the CEO right now. The man released his yellow aura and walked closer to the guards, who were ready to stop him. However, the man just put his hands on the guards and released a little bit of his power, making the guards thrown inside the room and breaking the door in the process. Kyung Soo looks back in surprise, and Chiao Wu looks at them in shock too. The lady tells Chiao Wu that it's been a while, and the Shinshinkaio leader, Shin Seong-hai, aka God, tells him that she heard that the general appeared there recently. Then the man tells him that according to the agreement, he would like him to share all the information he has. The Special Martial Artists Management Bureau Director, H. Wang Ji-ho, aka Emperor. Meanwhile, in Heejun's room, Ahan was standing near the window and silently waiting. Then Jangan coughingly told her that he had made her wait. She asked him what he was doing that took him so long, but she stopped talking when she saw Jangan in uniform. He told her that he knew the situation was urgent, but they needed to be prepared, especially since they were going to fight the king. They needed to do everything they could. He also mentioned that he couldn't believe Heejin was in the same class as the king's son, and all of it couldn't just be a coincidence. So, he was sure she was not there by chance. She agreed with him and told him that, as he said, she intentionally chose to be in the same class as Taesung. She had been collecting information while concealing her identity and waiting for an opportunity to avenge her father. Then she asked him if this was the opportunity she had been waiting for and if he could defeat King Wang Qiaowu. He replied that he was old, the king had gotten stronger, and going to his headquarters made it even more difficult. However, she shouldn't worry because he wouldn't lose to the king. And he would never lose. Meanwhile, in the company, the god and the emperor were around the king. Seong-hai told them that it had been a while since the three of them had been together and asked if it had been 10 years because even though so much time had passed, they were all the same. But Qiao-wu furiously told her that it had been, except for her, a witch-like woman. She laughingly thanked Qiao-wu for the compliment, and Ji-ho told them to drop the chit-chat. Then, he asked Qiao-wu to give him all the information he had on the general. Kyung-soo asked them what they were talking about after suddenly barging in, and what they meant by the general. Seong-hai called Kyung-soo a kid and told him that adults were talking, so it was better if he stayed quiet, using her aura to make Kyung-soo bend down because of the force. Ji-ho told Qiao-wu that if he was trying to play dumb, it was useless because he already had a pretty good guess, making Qiao-wu ask Ji-ho what he was talking about. Ji-ho replied that the fact the general raided one of his offices and the fact that he has a high school student who is suspected to be the general's disciple, making Chen-woo shock. Ji-ho guessed that he underestimated the Special Martial Artists Management Bureau's intelligence. Then Seong-hai teasingly told Ji-ho that it was creepy, like a stalker. Ji-ho told them that after the war ended 18 years ago, their two organizations made an agreement with the Special Martial Artists Management Bureau to share information about surviving illegal martial artists with each other and cooperate when they secure them. Also, among them is the general. Ji-ho tells Chun-woo that Park Jang-gun is a class A dangerous person and that he is obligated to report any information he finds to the Special Martial Artists Management Bureau immediately. But he didn't do it, so it is his last chance, and he better share the information. If he doesn't, he will be considered to have violated the agreement, and they will take appropriate action. Then Ji-ho released his powerful aura and told Chun-woo that he would disband the King Company. He asked him what he is going to do, making Chun-woo surprised. Meanwhile, outside, Jang-gun and Ah-han landed on the building roof near the King Company building. Ah-han told Jang-gun that if her guess was correct, Heejin was in the basement of the building, in the torture room. He told her that even after a few years, the dirty stench is still the same and that he'll get Heejin out first. He was about to explain to Ah-han how to go to the basement, but suddenly, a powerful yellow aura came out of the building, making him surprised. He knew that the aura was from the Emperor because no one else could have such a fierce aura, and the Emperor sure senses it quickly and comes looking. She tells him to wait a minute, and if the Emperor is there, he continued by saying that she is probably there too since the three organizations have made such an agreement, making her shocked. Then she tells him that she hated to say it after calling him. But if that was the case, she thought it was best to retreat for now. She didn't think even the general could take on those three at once, and if they rushed in now, there is a high chance that they'll get caught instead of saving Kang Heejin. Also, they probably won't kill Heejin because Heejin is an important informant. So for now, they should retreat and plan for later. He tightly grabs his cane and tells her that she is right. Meanwhile, in the King Company basement, at the entrance to the torture room, Seong-hai tells Chun-woo that it is barbaric, and he replies that it is a surefire way. She has no right to interfere with their methods. Then they arrived at the door and knocked on it. In-wan opened the door while asking what it was and that he was busy right now. But then he noticed that the guest had arrived. Ji-ho asks if that man is the cruel Jang In-wan, and Seong-hai asks if it was the pretty good kid too about right-hand man level. Chun-woo asked In-wan if he had gotten anything, and In-wan replied that he was afraid not yet. Then In-wan explained to them that Heejin was quite a tough kid, which is rare to see these days. If they waited a day or two more, he could make something. But Seong-hai replied no and that she didn't like it because she was busy. Then she asked them if it was okay that she was going to make Heejin talk right now. Ji-ho replied fine, making In-wan angry. She looks at Heejin and says that In-wan really did get it in a barbaric way. He asked her what it was again and told her that he didn't know who she was, but she should go away. But she just tells him that he looked about the same age as her daughter, but he had been through a lot. Then she holds his face while telling him to just wait a little longer because she'll make him feel comfortable now. Then she used her aura and asked him if he could tell her where the general was, making him stunned in shock while the men were looking at them in the back. He knows that he shouldn't say it, but his mouth is acting up, and when he's about to tell where the general was, suddenly Jang-gun appeared behind them and said that the general was there, making them shocked. He glared at them, and Chun-woo and Seong-hai were surprised to see him. But Ji-ho just tells him that it was unexpected, and he didn't think he'd attack. then asks him if he thinks the king is alone. He replied that it was not, but if they were martial artists, there would be times when they just couldn't back down, softly looking at the beaten Heejin. Then he slams his foot on the ground and swings his cane forward while releasing his powerful aura, then furiously tells them that he dared to touch his disciple and asks them if they are prepared. Meanwhile, outside the building, Anne was still on the other building's rooftop, continuously cussing to herself, remembering Jangan agreeing to her, and when she was about to tell him that they should go, Jangan attacked her on the shoulders and on her side, making her kneel on the floor. Jangan told her that she should stay there and not worry because he'd come back and release her. While she noticed that she couldn't move her body, she asked him why, and he replied that he was tired of seeing young people die instead of old people, and if they are martial artists, there are times when they can't back down. On the other hand, inside the room, Jangan was looking at them while releasing his power, and he worriedly called his master, but Jangan told him that he had been through a lot, and he'd save him soon. Xiaowu used his jade palm and added the divine art to attack Jangan. But Jangan used his iron hammer technique, Demon Crush, to block Chenwu's attack. Then he turned around, making Chenwu shocked, and kicked Chenwu away. Chenwu managed to stop himself from being thrown, and he asked Heejin before he freed him, what should he do with these guys, making Chen call him an old man in anger and shoutingly order his people to get out of there and ensure the employees' safety. But Enwan told Chenwu that it was a golden opportunity, and he wanted to fight the general too. Kyung-soo also agreed and told Chenwu that they would also provide support, but Chen-su furiously shouted that he'll take that old man down himself and he won't forgive anyone who gets in his way, making Kyung-soo feel the force of his stare. But Enwan just said that Chenwu has gotten serious. Then Enwan grabbed Kyung-soo, telling him that they should go because when Chenwu is like this, not even God can stop him. Seong-hai told Jiho that Chenwu has always been obsessed with weird things, but Jiho just kept quiet. Jangan peeked at the man who got out, telling Chenwu that his pride was still there, but Chenwu, who was using his jade palm 3rd level, replied no, then jumped forward to him and told him that it was confidence. Then he launched his fist while using his tiger's roar claw technique. He swung his cane around to shield himself, noticing that Chenwu was stronger than he thought. Chenwu asked him if it is all he has got and told him that he has been training tirelessly for that very moment, and he'll seek revenge for his defeat from 18 years ago. He simply told Chenwu that he is certainly amazing, but then he swung his cane forward, making Chenwu surprised. Then he attacked Chenwu using his iron hammer technique, 6 Swarm Heaven, telling him that he is not the only one who has been training. Chenwu covered his face with his arms while Jangan was hitting him. Then he speedily appeared in front of Chenwu and told him that he is tough when he thought he is a pushover. Then he told him to keep taking it, and he swung his cane forward to attack Chenwu, who was covering his face and waiting for the attack to hit him. But then Jangan speedily ran behind him, making him shocked. Then Jangan broke the chains and held Heejin, asking him if he was okay and if he could hold on. He asked his master why he was helping him when he got caught because of his mistake, but Jangan told him that it was only natural for a master to protect his disciple. Chenwu furiously called Jangan, making Jangan tell him that they should discuss it later, but for now, they should get out of there while getting something from his jacket. He threw a bomb at Chenwu, who angrily asked him if he thinks he'll just let him leave so easily. Then he used his aura to take off the bomb trigger and it exploded in Chenwu's face. Chenwu angrily asked him what nonsense it is, but he just jumped away while holding Heejin and told Chenwu that he is glad he is still simple-minded. He ran speedily toward the door, telling Heejin to just hold on a little longer because if they kept going at full speed, they could come out. But then Seong-hai sweetly called him, making him surprised. He blocked in time as Seong-hai attacked while telling him that he has used all of his modern weapons. She also told him that she'd love to play a one-on-one duel, but if he attempted to escape, it was a different matter, to which Jiho agreed. Jiho told Chenwu that he attempted to honor his desires, but a fair fight is distinct from preventing an escape, and he can't allow Jangan to leave at that point, making Chenwu pissed. The king, the god, and the emperor looked at him, the general, making him realize that, as he expected, things don't go smoothly. Then Jangan asked Heejin if he can run, and he replied yes, somehow, to which Jangan said it was a relief. Then Jangan lifted him up and forcefully threw him out of the room, making him shocked. Jangan told him to hurry up and get away while he'll keep them occupied there. He tried to tell his master to wait, but Jangan just closed the room door, smiling at him. Then Jangan faced them, saying that he has managed to fulfill his goal somehow and asked them if adult babble should be left to the adults. Then he swung his cane, telling them that if they seek his head, they should take it whenever they please. On the other hand, Chenwu knocked on the torture room door while calling his master continuously. He was frustrated that because of him, his master was sacrificing, and he thought that if he had only behaved properly, that wouldn't have happened. Suddenly, someone asked him how he managed to escape and told him that the old man is really amazing. Then Enwan told him that he came by just in case, but he was glad he did. Enwan also told him that he was told not to touch the general, but he wouldn't mind if he played with him a little. Then Inwan put his sword back on its sheath and told him that he'll let him do his best, and he could use one of those swords, making him angrily call Inwan a bastard and stand up, telling Inwan that he'll kill him. On the other hand, inside the room, Jiho told Jangun that he is planning to buy time for his disciple to escape and asked him if he really thinks it is possible against the three of them. He swung his cane backward and told them that they won't know until he tries. Then he jumped toward them speedily and activated his Iron Hammer Technique 6th level to attack Chenwu, making Chenwu surprised. But Chenwu managed to block it using his Tiger Hammer strike in time. But he noticed that Jangun had gotten stronger than before. He forcefully pressed his cane on Chenwu, making Chenwu forcefully thrown hard on the ground, and Xiang Hai surprised. But Jiho just silently looked at Chenwu. Jiho told them that it was congenital true energy, and Jangun raised his Kai in exchange for his life. Jangun told them that he had to do at least that much against the three of them. But Jiho told him that he can't understand it and asked him if that kid is worth going to such lengths for. He replied that he'd never understand because he was a person who only saw people as tools. Then he slammed his cane on the ground, telling them that the place was a bit cramped for 4 people to fight, and the ground shook hard. Then he swung his cane around him, telling them that they should change the location. The King Company building slowly collapsed, and floor by floor, the building was destroyed. From the other building's rooftop, Anne saw how the King Company building sunk down, making her surprised. Kyung-soo looked up and saw the 3 masters on the broken floor while Jangun was flying in the air. They furiously looked at Jangun, but he just told them that they should start. Meanwhile, on one of the floors, Inwan excitedly asks if they are facing off against the world's strongest over there and says that his chest is really swelling. Then Inwan tells him not to worry about it and just keep doing what he was doing. Also, he was probably not in good shape, so he needs to be a little more serious. If he can even hit him once, he'll let him go, but of course, he'll only be using one hand and asks him what he thinks and if it is doable. He jumped and tried to punch Inwan, but Inwan dodged his attack and laughingly acted like he was hurt. Then Inwan attacked his shoulder with his sword while asking him if he couldn't handle the Kai properly because it was too weak. Then Inwan tells him to do it again, but he should raise the quality a bit this time and asks him if that is all he can do when his Kai was made by his master who is about to die. He furiously calls Inwan a bastard and attacks. He tells himself to calm down because he knows that Inwan is a strong guy and he can't win in a head-on battle. Inwan uses his sword to slash him, and he gets hit in the face by it. But he thinks at least Inwan is completely underestimating him. So, if he'll keep him off guard while pretending to be excited and weak, and when he shows his weakness, he'll hit him with all his Kai. Meanwhile, Jangun and Chenwu were continuously fighting. He dodged his attack and attacked him with his cane. Then he swung backward his cane to get force and hit it hard on Chenwu, but he covered his head in time with his arm and tried to hold on not to be squeezed by it. But then Xiang Hai speedily ran past behind Chenwu and shoutingly told Jangun from behind to stop, using her aura. But Jangun stand firmly, making him pressed hard onto the floor, breaking the ground in the process. But he just asked Xiang Hai if she was crazy. Then he pushed Xiang Hai hard on the ground using his hand, making Xiang Hai clench her teeth in anger. Suddenly, Jiho appeared behind him, ready to attack. But he sensed him in time and blocked Jiho's attack using his cane. Then he swung his body a little to the side and swung his cane at Jiho's side, making Jiho thrown away. Then Jiho looked at him with a shattered uniform, and he glared back at him. They both attacked each other, but their attacks just collided with each other. But then he realized something, making him surprised and jump up, then landed on the floor. He realized that all 3 of them are monsters, but even with his congenital true energy, the Emperor faced it head-on. Then he sat down, knowing that not much time was left, and if that went on, he'd just be exhausted. The 3 masters looked at him from above, but Jiho sensed something and told them that Jangun is coming, so they should be ready, making Chenwu surprised. Then he opened his glaring green eyes and released a powerful aura, knowing that it was where he'd give it everything he had got. Then he activated his Iron Hammer Technique, Absolute Cut, making the 3 masters feel the tension of his power. Then he swung his cane forward and used his Heaven's Might, which released a powerful green attack that hit the 3 masters and made a loud explosion that could be seen from outside the building. Inwan stumbled when he felt a strong power shake the whole building. But Heejin saw it as an opportunity, so he immediately ran forward on Inwan's side, making Inwan surprised. Then he launched